Well, thank you for spending your valuable time and joining us here today. I'm really excited to introduce you to Angela Foster, and we're going to be talking about how to negotiate power and presence as a petite woman. So that's a pretty niche subject, and I'm sure you're going to get lots of value here. So welcome, Angela. It's great to have you here.
Oh, Cindy, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this all week long.
Yeah, no, likewise. I think it's going to be a really interesting conversation. When I heard about what you do, I'm like, that is an interesting angle. As I say, I'm really happy to introduce you to Angela Foster. And for those of you who don't know her, with over 2 decades of executive experience in the fashion and beauty industry, and for those of you who are watching this visually, you can see why. Angela specializes in empowering high achieving petite women in particular to exude confidence. And she makes sure her clients never again find themselves diminished in those high stakes situations. And her expertise is being featured in Real Simple and BestLife and high profile podcasts and beyond. People are starting to catch on that this is kind of an important issue in allowing you to step into the most powerful version of yourself. So, Angela, kick us off and tell us, how did you come to this line of work?
Right. So, like you said, I was an executive for various different brands and retailers for over 20 years, and I had a great job. And I would probably still be there today had one of my coworkers not asked me for some help. She had just had her second baby, pretty close back to back, and her husband had just asked for a divorce. So she was
Oh,
going through a lot of life changes, right? And that one particularly, just such a hit to your self-esteem.
yeah. Yeah.
And she said, I just don't recognize my body anymore. I don't feel like myself anymore. We were out of town at a sales meeting, and she said, would you be willing to help? You always look so cute, so pulled together, and you make it look so easy. And I was like, oh my gosh, 100% I would be happy to. And I look back on it now, and I think it's been almost 7 years, I think next month,
Yeah.
almost 7 years, and I look back on it and I have to laugh. I mean, the poor thing, I would like literally just send her screenshots. I'd be walking through a store and I'd be like, oh, this would look great with what you have with this. This would make your body shape look amazing. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it was very random, very organic. We probably done that for maybe 4 to 6 weeks. And her personal circle of friends was like, you look amazing. You look like you feel great. You are going through all these life changes, and it just seems to be like not affecting you at all. She said, well, would you mind if I gave them your name? And I said, well, hon, I have a job. Like, I can't, I mean, I have a real job, but I said, of course, I would love to help. And so it just kind of snowballed from there. Like, one client goes into another client, and it goes into another
Yeah.
client. And one of the things that you realize, well, two things from a purely selfish standpoint, there is absolutely nothing better in this world than being able to support a woman feel more confident,
Yeah.
stand in her space, and really take on those challenges and opportunities that maybe she might not have taken advantage of
Yeah.
before she felt
Yeah.
so confident. And then the other thing is that a lot of women, and I think this is so interesting, a lot of women think that style is just something that you're born with. Like, I
Yeah.
was born with great style, I was born with zero style. Like,
Yeah.
that's just, you pop out of the womb and it's one or the other. And
Little
it
Gucci
didn't
baby.
take, right? Exactly, exactly. And it doesn't take very long to work with women and realize, you know what? It's just a system. And once you know the system, having style, having great style, it's like learning how to play the violin. Nobody
Yeah.
pops out of the womb knowing how to do that or knowing how to drive a car. Great
Yeah.
style is the same way. You can learn it. And so then that's when I came up with 5 steps, and it's easy. And then once a woman knows how to do that, she's set to go. So,
Yeah. Well, what a great organic way for your business to grow. And gosh,
right.
there's so much there that we can unpack as we, have our conversation here today, because it's true. Confidence is so important for how we show up in our negotiations and how we show up in life and how we're received by people. And as a result of that, the opportunities that we get. So it is such an important issue, and we often talk about all these different confidence boosters, but really how we feel about ourselves in our own skin and how we're showing up in the world is so important and not talked about enough. And I'm glad you mentioned about the babies. I was just thinking, as you said about your friend, like, God, we started late and had 3 kids in 3 years, and things change, right? So I love that you said that. And you focus on petite women. So I'd love if you could tell us first, like, what prompted that, and what special or unique challenges do petite women face? Because you don't hear that. I mean, you got your petite shops where you could go shopping, but you rarely hear a discussion about how that shows up in the real world. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yes, absolutely. So when I started out, I coached everyone, tall, short, and
Yeah.
everything in between. And I loved it. There was no, because a lot of the challenges that petite women face, tall women do too.
Yeah.
So it's not just segmented to girls who are 5'4" or under.
Yeah.
However, just to be honest, when you are that short, 5 pound weight gain makes a big
Yeah.
difference. We just don't have as much vertical real estate for that weight to go. So you
Yeah.
can really, I mean, it can really affect the way
Yeah.
clothes fit you and also where it goes and that type of thing. The other thing is that while 44% of the world's population, women, are 5'4" and under,
Wow.
designers are still, yes, 44%. I
Okay.
know it's crazy pants, but still designers and brands designed for women who are 5'9" and above.
Oh,
So finding clothes that fit can be such a challenge if you don't know where to shop and you don't, like if you're not good at it. And the
yeah.
problem is that when we're not good at something, we don't want to do it,
Yeah.
which just then creates this whole cycle of no, nothing fits and I don't know where to go. And then everything has to go to the tailor and I don't have time for that and all of those things. So
Yeah.
the challenges that petite women face are just a little bit tougher because of
Yeah.
that. So
And
did
I'd
that
love
answer
if
the
you could,
question?
and you may not be able to speak. Yes, totally. And also, as you were speaking, because it's funny, we all have those. I'm taught they used to call me Too Tall Watson, so that certainly hasn't been my experience. But as you said, I mean, certainly, even as a lawyer for 30 years, walking into a room at first, when I first started as a young lawyer, I'm like, oh my God, almost all men, right, in the room.
Yes.
And like, they are not going to take me seriously. I need to get scrappier. And I really felt earlier in my career in particular, it's one of the things that prompted my art of feminine negotiation so we can shift that story. But I think it's still the case that women generally feel like they need to prove themselves walking to a room. And it hadn't struck me until I booked you for this that I suspect those challenges are even higher for petite women. I'd love your thoughts on that in terms of that power dynamic walking into a room in terms of how you're received from a power sort of point of view.
Right. Such a great question. I love this one. It's actually called height equity. And when you interview short women, they say they feel pressure to wear high heels so that it brings them up and boosts
Yeah.
their confidence because they feel like it has the other people in the room take them more seriously.
Yeah.
And obviously, then it also just boosts their confidence. Now, if women love to wear high heels, then this is perfect for them. If not, though, then they are left in that thing of, okay, well, I can be completely uncomfortable, which of
Yeah.
course then also affects their confidence and the way
Absolutely.
that they're walking into the room. So, when I'm working with my one on one clients, we really find out because if you're not comfortable, you're not going to show up as
Yeah.
confident. So, comfort in the way that you look is the most important thing. And
Yeah.
then we can deal with the height situation later.
Yeah.
That belief in your ability and being prepared and all of that absolutely plays a role in it, but it doesn't play all of it. So
Yeah.
it's the two things together, like the image and then knowing your stuff
Yeah.
is like the perfect combination for
Height
walking in and really
equity.
taking
I've
control.
never heard that before. That's a great term. I think that's beautiful. Now, I always say, I talk a lot about negotiating our mindset, that it's probably our
Yes.
first and most important negotiation. And, in your work with your clients over the course of your career, what mindset problems would you say you see arise that maybe block petite women in particular from stepping into their full power? And you spoke to that comfort piece and that feeling at a disadvantage. And anything else you'd say about that?
Oh my gosh, yes, I could go on with this forever. So I love this because it's such a mindset and also self-talk.
Yeah.
So a woman walks into her closet in the morning, she doesn't have a ton of time, and she's thumbing through her clothes and this is too tight, that doesn't look good,
Yeah.
this makes my hips look fat, this makes my thighs look fat, this isn't comfortable, I'm going to be fiddling all day. You
Yeah.
go through all your clothes and you have all this negative self-talk. There is absolutely no way, even once you do find the outfit that you are going to wear, there's no way that after all that negativity that you can
Yeah.
literally walk out of the door and think, I'm going to crush it today. Like
Yeah.
this is going to be the best day ever.
Yeah.
So and I think I mentioned it, but I came up with a 5-step process that I walk clients through. And the very first one is body shape.
Yeah.
Because once you know the clothes that will flatter your body shape, whether you're tall or short, and the ones that it's best to stay away from, then it cuts down on all that in the morning in the closet,
Yeah.
going, it's too small, it's too big, it's too long, it's too short,
Yeah.
whatever. It cuts back on all of that. And then you can really leave the house and think, I look terrific. My clothes look
Yeah.
great. I am going to crush it today. So getting to that spot is critical for women to really like
Yeah.
live to their maximum.
I love it. I love it. Now, you
Yeah.
mentioned your 5-step process. Is that your Spark method?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
So can you take
Yes.
us, so I'm assuming the S is shape, the one you just talked to.
Yes.
What are the other elements of that, if you can take us through that quick?
Of course, I would love to. So the second one is pants. Pants are such a troublesome spot for women. The third one is accessories. And
Uh,
I really believe that when women feel confident pulling that outfit together and looking polished, knowing they have the best jewelry, the best handbag, the best, and it's easy.
yeah.
And it's easy. Then it really speaks to their personal and or their business brand.
Yeah.
And then they just always feel like they look polished. One of the things
Yeah.
I hear from one-on-one clients all the time is, I just want to look polished. Like I just
Yeah.
want to walk out the door and think she looks really put together, have other
Yeah.
people look at me that way. So we like nail down the accessories and make it simple for them. The next one is refine your style. And that's where we really get into the colors that speak to your personal or business brand, the ones that look best on your skin tone.
Yeah.
And this plays a big role because I work with a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and all of that, but really refining your style and being able to like name your, so
Yeah.
say, for example, your business brand. Tell me 3 words that you want to use to describe your business brand.
Yeah.
Is it youthful and fun or whatever it is? But we
Yeah.
really nail down so then they can look at an item of clothing. They'll walking through Bloomingdale's, they look at an item of clothing and they're like, nope, that doesn't speak to my personal brand. I can avoid buying it. And a lot of my clients say, "Oh, so much of the time savings after working with you is knowing what not to buy.
Yeah.
Like I have no problem just walking away from things that don't make sense." And then the last step is keeping your closet clean
Yeah.
because, like we talked about, getting rid of all of those things that's going to create that negative mind chatter in your head is so freeing and
Yeah.
so liberating. And,
Yeah.
a lot of my clients say, I'd rather have 5 awesome things in my closet than 50 that don't
Yes.
make me feel good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, it's funny. I was just thinking as you were saying, going through that, how much time you would save, and time is money,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Oh,
or that time is, because I think shopping, I mean, God, when I was young, I loved it. And now I just dread the expenditure of time and looking and searching. When you're much more focused on what you want, it must be inordinate time savings, which is fabulous. And I want
it
to
is.
circle back, Angela, when you'd said about that, because boy, did it resonate as you were talking about flipping through that closet and oh, this one, especially that comfort piece. I cannot tell you how many times I bought something that looked great, loved the look, but even at the time I tried it on, I'm like, oh, but you end up going for it and then you never wear the darn thing. So do you recommend, like, should I purge my closet and start fresh? What's your recommendation on that?
Yes. So
Ah,
one of the
okay.
so one of the things that I say to new clients when we first start walking through the program is no purging and no shopping until we complete it.
Okay.
Because until we walk through all 5 steps, we
Yeah.
don't really know. Is it not comfortable because it's too tight, it's too long, it's too whatever? Could
Yeah.
we have it altered so that it would be more comfortable?
Yeah.
A lot of women, they say, well, I haven't worn this in 3 years. So the old wives' tale is, if I haven't worn it, get rid of it. Well, is it because you haven't worn it because you don't have anything to wear with it? If that's the case,
Oh,
that's a super easy fix. So
yeah.
there's a moratorium on shopping and purging until after the process. And then women are often surprised by how many options they really do have in
Yeah.
their closet. They just maybe weren't pairing them well together, or they
Yeah.
needed that one extra piece to really make it work. So,
I've never heard
but
that before, and I love that. That makes so, because we are a very throwaway kind of society. So that's true. I was just clocking as you were saying that, going through. Oh, actually, I don't like that because of the way it fits, but that'd be a really simple tuck, right? To be able to fix
right.
that. So I love
Yes.
that.
So many times, I mean, you have to think about it. And these designers and these brands are, making clothes for bajillion women. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole fact that even if you're 5'9",
Yeah.
another woman who's 5'9" is not going to have your
Yeah.
hips, your leg length,
That's very
your
true.
torso length, your arm
Yeah.
length, all of that. So the thought that we can just buy something off the rack, from anyone, and it's always going to fit, is a
Yeah.
little bit of a high expectation for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's a really good point. I it's funny so much of what you're saying. Thinking back, even when I was really young, and my friends, and they'd be like, "Oh, Cindy, for God's sake, you don't get to complain about it. You've got like an extra foot of space in your midriff there to be able to carry." When you were talking about that little extra bit of weight or that shift, how it affects women
Mhm.
differently, and we don't
Yeah.
think about that or talk about that. Now, I guess let's take a step back too for people who, I know you help women develop their personal brand and their professional brand.
Mhm.
For
Mhm.
some women who are out there, because that word is getting thrown around a lot now in a bunch of different
Yes.
contexts, some of which are probably not appropriate. So can you explain for us what does that mean to you when you talk about brand?
Yep, absolutely. So there's a couple things, and the majority of my clients fall into one of two categories. They are the face of their business brand because they're the business owner, they're the founder. And we all talk about it in this very, very noisy landscape.
Yeah.
Visibility, whether it be on stage, YouTube channel,
Yeah.
whatever, media presentations, whatever it is, they need to be able to represent their brand in a way that reflects what they do and really speaks to their potential ideal
Yeah.
client. So we really want to tie that all in together. The other thing is going back to, it's so noisy out there. You think about it, and in your case, 20 people are looking for a coach to
Yeah.
make them more successful at their job.
Yeah.
Well, standing out amongst those 19 other people can get very tough.
Yeah.
If you have a very recognizable visual presentation, every time they see Cindy, oh my gosh, she always has like a cute little necklace on and fill in the blank,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Then it's all of a sudden, oh, there's Cindy. Oh, there's Cindy.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Cindy. Oh, you know what? I want to hire somebody. Oh, I know exactly who I need to hire,
Yeah.
Cindy, because honestly, you're the only person whose name I remember, because
Yeah.
everybody else is just in the sea of sameness or of,
Yeah.
always flipping things around. When it comes to, you are not the owner, but you're an employee and you're wanting to grow, there's been studies and the numbers keep growing, which I find very interesting. But it used to be that women who were perceived as putting extra effort into their appearance were promoted 25%
Oh, I bet.
faster.
Yeah.
Now it's 50%
Yeah.
faster. So,
Yeah.
it goes to, like, if it's between two different employees and there's one employee who always shows up and looks like they put effort into it, the perception is, okay, well, she puts effort into her appearance. She's also going to put more effort into
Mm.
her job performance,
Yeah.
her sales results, whatever the case may be, versus the other person who looks like they just roll out of bed. And well, if that's how they approach coming to the office, then what
Yeah.
are they really doing when I'm not watching?
Yeah.
So just that whole thing. And then the other thing, which is super fun, is that same thing, women who are perceived to put more effort into it make 18% more money. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Wow.
mean, that, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That could pay for your next shopping trip to the mall.
Yeah.
So
And even tied to that, as you were saying that, not only the employer's perception, but also clients. And I was thinking back to in the law profession, like I had an associate one time who was a senior associate who had joined the firm. And now this was a male, but the same principle applied. He always showed up like he was just rumpled and his hair was just everywhere. And it caused a confidence issue with the clients as well. And whether it's justified or not, and I know there'll be some pushback, probably our listeners going, well, that shouldn't matter. But unfortunately, we live in the world we live in, and people do judge on appearance significantly. And they are going to judge your competence in part based on how you show up. Now, I know you talk about a brand uniform, I think is what I saw somewhere in one of your things. So tell me what is that? How can you create it, especially without wearing sort of the same thing every day? How does that work?
yes. So I love this. I have a client and she is the face of her brand. And the very first time we sat down and talked about her body shape and all of that, she goes, you know what? She goes, I wear a wrap dress every single time I'm on stage. So I see all these videos of me speaking and I'm always in a wrap dress. And I'm like, well, is it the same wrap dress? And she goes, well, no, it's different ones, but it's always a wrap dress. And I
Yeah.
said, oh, well, are you bored with it? Do you not think it's flattering? Are you not comfortable when you're walking across the stage and all of that? And she goes, no, it's fine. She goes, I just don't want people to think that I'm always the girl that wears the wrap dress. And I said, well, they're not thinking about you that much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they might,
Yeah.
hopefully they're listening to your message, but I don't remember what I wore yesterday, let
Yeah.
alone what my client had on yesterday when
Yeah.
I was coaching her. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's more about that comfort and that confidence. And I feel like women think that, to her point, I wear a wrap dress every time. People are going to, I feel obligated to mix it up. But if it's working, and again, it goes back to when I think about her and when her potential clients think about her, if they're like, oh, she's always the one that's in that cute Diane von
Yeah.
Furstenberg wrap dress, right? That's actually working to her benefit. So don't feel obligated to mix it up or to try new things that might not be flattering just to do it. If you're bored, that's a whole other
Yeah.
situation that we can talk about. But yeah, don't feel obligated just
Yeah.
to, I swear, I mean, my boyfriend says all the time, he goes, you have 55 of the same dresses in the closet, but they're not the same color,
Yeah.
you know,
That's
and we
great.
all have plenty
Right.
of black shoes and
Yeah.
none of us feel bad about that.
I
So
love it. Now, switching gears for a minute, today is such a virtual world, right? And do you see in today's virtual world, is it an advantage or a disadvantage, or is it just neutral for petite women? Does it affect their confidence or ability to show, like, because you don't have that same impact where you walk into a room, whereas like me, as I said, where you're bringing that height into the room versus feeling the need to overcome that. What are your thoughts on that?
So, and now it's even more interesting, right? Now that more people are returning to the office. So there's that like
Yeah.
uncomfortable, like hybrid thing, which everybody's struggling with.
Yeah.
So in regards to petites and having it be virtual, no, because until you told me you were 5'9", I had no idea. I thought you were
Yeah.
my height. Like, I
Yeah.
think everybody's my height. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you're short like me.
Yeah.
So right? So you don't, but there are other things that can undermine credibility and also potential clients' confidence in you.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest one, and it's funny because you know how an idea will pop into your head and you're like, you know what I really hate? I really hate virtual backgrounds.
Yeah.
And then somebody super smart will say, you're absolutely right. And this is the reason why. So Melina Palmer, who is, I'm not going to remember her like category, but she's like social economist or something,
Okay.
but she talks about
Yeah.
like money in the brain and all of that. And I heard her on a podcast and she was saying virtual backgrounds undermine confidence because it takes away the know, like, and trust because you wonder what's going on behind. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, now there's another reason to hate them. I just always hated them because it would cut off half their head and it
Yes.
was irritating and distracting.
Yes.
But now I could use this as an excuse as to why. So yes, virtual backgrounds we're not a big fan of and all
Yeah.
of that. And it's not that hard. I mean, honestly, it's been what, 3-4 years. We
Yeah.
should all have a wall that we can sit in front of and be fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes.
Mine's probably too busy now that you're saying that. I'm going to have to do something about this.
No, I thought it was lovely. I thought it was lovely. So no,
Now, on
you're
that,
awesome.
do you have any recommendations for showing up better online? Things that will help, whether with that confidence or in terms of people's perceptions, so that you can be in a better position of power when you negotiate?
Right. So the one thing I tell clients, and this doesn't matter if they're getting ready to go on the local news or the national news, or they're doing a virtual presentation, give the audience one thing to focus on,
Yeah.
just one thing. So, when we first started doing Zoom, everybody was like, keep the party on top. I can have my yoga pants on the bottom. And as long as I have a nice blouse on, we're all great. Then throw on some big earrings and move on.
Yeah.
But the big thing is it can be distracting.
Yeah.
So make sure that there's one thing that the audience can focus on, and then that's it. And then they'll be like, oh, her necklace is cute. And now I can listen to the message that
Yeah.
she's sending versus her bangly earrings or her
Yeah.
bangly
I know.
bracelets and
Yeah.
her, like big,
Yeah.
rainfall earrings and all of that, just one thing. So yes.
That's great. Now, I've read somewhere that style is a critical piece to helping women bridge the wealth gap in the corporate world. I wondered what your thoughts were on that. And because as you were talking, I remembered that quote and I thought, I could see that when you're saying about people's expectations and that credibility piece and that they make more money, et cetera. So I'd love to
Mhm.
hear your thoughts on that.
So it's absolutely about people's perception of you.
Yeah.
It's also about your perception of your own ability. And there is nothing more powerful than walking into sales meeting or walking into a board meeting and have people stop what they're doing and pay attention.
Yeah.
And that really puts women into the mindset of, I should go for that next job.
Yeah.
Look at how I just nailed that board meeting.
Yeah.
Look at how everybody just loved my presentation. So absolutely. I feel like it all boils down to confidence. Confidence is everything. Whatever it takes for us to show up and take advantage of opportunities, having that confidence is priceless. Absolutely. I just don't think so many times women can think, oh, image, it's frivolous, or I don't have time, or whatever, when really it's the basis for everything. There is, I call it the 7-Eleven rule. I don't know if y'all have those convenience stores in
Oh, yeah.
Canada.
Yeah.
7-Elevens. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was like a US thing, but so Slurpees for everyone, or
Yeah.
slushies, or whatever they are. But it's that people make 11 decisions about you, strangers,
Yeah.
within 7 seconds of
Oh,
seeing you.
wow.
So you think
Wow.
about, to your point, somebody, a new client in corporate, or a potential new boss, or whatever. Before you've even said, hi, my name is,
Yeah.
they've already made 11 decisions about you.
Wow.
And most, right?
Yeah.
And it goes back to your point. We all like to think that we don't judge, and other people do. So until we're all at that elevated
Yeah.
level of experience, we're going to have to deal with what we have to work with.
Yeah.
But so they're already deciding, is she worth the promotion? How much money is she worth?
Yeah.
Like, do I want to hire her? Does she know does she look like she knows what she's talking
Yeah.
about, and all of that? So yes,
Yeah.
huge.
And you're right. As much as we like to think we don't judge, the reality is we do. We all do, right? And I mean, we can be
Yes,
some are more conscious than others about trying not to or overcoming them, but the fact is we all judge. Now, you had mentioned opportunities, and I thought as you were speaking, I bet a lot of women end up passing up opportunities because they don't feel empowered, whether through their sense of style or brand or that self-talk piece. So I bet you see that with your clients a lot.
I do. I do. And hopefully by the time that we end up working together, not anymore, but yes, there's a lot of women who say, I don't feel comfortable going up on stage.
Yeah.
And it's always like, and what would I wear anyways? Like,
Yeah.
girl, we can take care of that piece of it.
Yeah.
But that whole thing of just not feeling confident to raise your hand
Yeah.
for the promotion, or for the opportunity, or for the speaking opportunity, or anything like that. It's just any kind of roadblocks. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you feel the same way, but as a coach, any kind of roadblocks that I can help them remove, so that they can focus on what's really important, and getting their message across, and letting
Yeah.
everybody know how amazing they are, is
Yeah.
a gift. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And I know you'd mentioned you do some work with a lot of professional women as well. And I was just thinking in law, like for so long, oh my God, women just dress like men, with the big box shoulder, flat, dark color suits or whatever. What's your advice about that for women in the profession? Like, do you try to blend in, or are you all about find your own unique sort of style and show up in that way? What are your thoughts?
yep. I love this question. It's funny that you should say this. I have a one-on-one client who's an attorney,
Yeah.
and she just hired 3 new people.
Yeah.
And it actually gave birth to this whole new program that we're doing now, which is Dress Your Brand, and they're lunch and learns. And
Yeah.
so her 3 new people had just graduated from college.
Yeah.
And, they'd spent a lot of their higher education time doing Zoom. So them all of a sudden showing up,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, in real
Out of yoga
clothes,
pants. Yeah.
right, was startling for them. So I feel like, no, absolutely. There's those, like the times back in the 80s where we had to, like where we tried to emulate a man's
Yeah.
style. It's like those days are gone, thank goodness, because a lot of us did not look good in those
Yeah.
kind of outfits. No, you want to be confident. You want to find your own personal style, one that you feel confident in, and hopefully it is different enough to
Yeah.
make you stand out, and leverage that difference between that whole, like, male attorney, female attorney, like leverage the
Yeah.
difference of that and make it work for you, because it's such a leg up right now, because
Yeah.
there's so many companies, clients, and things that want to work with women
Yeah.
because of those different talents and strengths that they bring to the party. So,
Yeah. Oh, I
yeah.
love well,
So,
that's so on brand for me, obviously, because my whole thing with the art of feminine negotiation is lean into the feminine. Stop seeing it as a liability, even in terms of the qualities you bring to the table, like empathy and compassion and rapport building and trust building. Like lean into that. So it's a logical extension of that we show up with a style that reflects who we are.
absolutely.
So I think that's great. Now, when we talk
Absolutely.
about employers, you'd said about that lawyer that you're working with, and she had
Mhm.
hired new people. So for
Yes.
employers, do you have any advice for how they can create that expectation of sort of style or brand awareness on hiring?
Right. The first thing is if we can catch some of your listeners before they make the hires, that's awesome. Because
Yeah.
the best and easiest time to address dress code is before you make the hire.
Yeah.
And just say, this is the expectation in this office, or this is the expectation on the days that you're working from home,
Yeah.
and lay it out. And do you feel comfortable with that? And if
Yeah.
you don't feel comfortable, that's completely fine, but this might not be the position for you.
Yeah.
I think where we get into trouble is those people that we already have on board.
Yeah.
Now, the majority of corporate clients that I work with have some sort of a dress code policy,
Yeah.
and it is so horribly outdated, and nobody takes it serious,
Yeah.
and nobody looks at it. And then it all of a sudden puts that person into a really difficult spot,
Yeah.
which is to what I was telling you about Deanna, my client, is that that's the position that she was in, right? Like old, outdated, post-pandemic, whatever, hose and
Yeah.
heels every single day to the office. And that just wasn't working. And it's also one of the most difficult conversations for an employer to have with their team
Yeah.
about the whole image thing, because it's so largely subjective.
Yeah.
And it gets super personal. This isn't like you didn't make your billing hours
Yeah.
for last month. It's
Yeah.
like, that's pretty black and white, right?
Yeah.
I don't like your shoes is a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons why my corporate clients like having somebody else address it, because it takes all the pressure off of them.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
other thing is so then how do you get these, millennials to like wrap their head around, well, you should just love me for my brain, and you hired me for my brain, and why does it matter how I show up?
Yeah.
And again, I would love it if that were the case, and we have to deal with we have to deal with reality. What's helpful is when you know what buttons to push, what motivates your team.
Yeah.
So is it money? And is it the fact that you're going to make 18% more if you just
Yeah.
put a little effort into it?
Yeah.
Do you does it make your heart glow to get recognition from your coworkers and the leaders in the company? If that's the case, then
Yeah.
we know how to push those buttons.
Yeah.
But knowing what motivates your team, all of a sudden, then it's not I'm the mean boss and I'm telling you, you can't wear sneakers or whatever.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's I care about you. I know it's important to you, and I can help you get there.
Yeah.
And this is all it takes. And then all of a sudden it becomes I'm on your side versus you're not doing it right thing.
That's a smart shift. And also for our listeners, it's a great negotiation tip, right? I mean, we often go, how you approach somebody is going to make the world a difference, whether you get the outcome that you want or not, right? If you look for what their needs are and you're thinking about what their needs are, and you can frame what you want in a way that actually meets their needs as well. So whether we're talking about this specific issue or beyond, that was great advice, Angela. So and it's such a changing world as you were talking. I was laughing at the beginning because I'm thinking of all the cases I had as a lawyer, about whether uniform policies and with the dramatic increase we're seeing in tats or piercings or whatever. It's an interesting tightrope, right? An interesting dynamic
It is. And, you hired them for their brilliant brain
Yeah.
and for their, creative thinking and all of the good stuff. So
Yeah.
you also don't want to like stomp on
Yeah.
all of the lovely reasons why you hired them. So yes,
Yeah.
it is a delicate balance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, there's been some great tips and nuggets here, some very unexpected surprises, a lot of the stats that you supplied us with. Thank you for that too. I didn't know almost any of those, so that was great. Can't believe how quickly our time has gone here together.
I know.
I
Feel free to share them.
Yes, no, I definitely will have to have you back to do a deeper dive, I think, actually, as well. That's sort of point 2.0.
I
I
love
would
it.
like to end by asking, what's one of the greatest mindset shifts that you've ever had in your life? Doesn't have to be on this issue. It can be anything, just sort of collecting those aha moments to share with our listeners.
Right. So I grew up with a single mom. And so there was a lot of money mindsets, money shortage mindsets, and all of that you don't even realize you have them until you start putting the brakes on yourself, because I could never make that much money or all of that. And it's still 100% work in progress. So please don't she has it all figured out. But I think the biggest thing was realizing that I even had issues around that, and then just constantly working on them. And then every level that I hit, working on it a little bit more and a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's easy for women to think, oh, I can do everything. And that's how my mom raised me. Like, you can do anything anything. You can be anything you want. That sounds great until you're like, well, yeah, but will I be able to afford groceries? So just being able to work through that is without a doubt and the hardest and the most valuable thing. So.
Oh, that is such important advice. Like, oh my gosh, I think because again, for different reasons, but I grew up in sort of a low rental sort of tenement complex growing up. And I didn't realize until much later, as you were saying, and it's a constant work in progress about that money baggage we bring. Like, and it leads to not just our sense of self or that fear that sort of comes from it, that scarcity mindset that you have to work to overcome. But even there's a little bit of that guilt or that we tend to undercharge because it seems obscene and we have all these values. So that was beautiful, beautiful advice. So Angela, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your expertise. You've got a beautiful way of presenting potentially challenging subjects. So thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah. And for our listeners out there, make sure to connect and learn more about Angela and her work. Check out angelafoster.co/Cindy. And I know she's got a special page set up there as well. And we'll be making sure to put all of her other social media links in our show notes. So do check that out. You just got a tiny little taste here of the kind of gold that she can bring to the table. So definitely, I highly encourage you to look her up and check her out. And I'm sure you've got loads of value from this episode. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already done that. And always, as I say, give the gift of sharing. Make sure to share this with the people in your community as well, so they can get the value from this messaging, because who couldn't benefit from this kind of approach to life, right? We all need to decide what our distinctive style is, and what a beautiful way to be able to go out in the world with more confidence to get more of what you want and deserve. And before we sign off today, I just wanted to share some ways that we can work together if you're looking to practice law with greater purpose or to improve your firm's culture and productivity. I've got everything from my group to my signature one-on-one programs and experiences available to help better leverage your innate power and that of your team, frankly, to get more of what you want and deserve in life, as well as in the practice of law. Check out our website at practicingwithpurpose.org if that sounds like something that would be interesting to you or your firm. And that is a wrap for this episode. So until next time, go forth and find ways that you can practice on purpose. Find a better way to practice law so you can rekindle your passion and make a difference in this world, negotiating your best life on your terms. Until next time, take care.